Very good afternoon, sir, Dr. Roshan Palewar, sir. And let me introduce today's speaker. This is the second session of our workshop. Dr. Roshan Palewar is an exceptional combination of a talent and humanity with a vision to provide health for all. He has formulated DocRoSh Health Global Solutions. He is CEO, Pharma Global Leader. He is a recipient of Pharma Ratna Award, 100 Most Impactful Healthcare Leaders, Global Listing Award. He is an entrepreneur, global pharma leader, advisor, mentor, researcher, formulator, doctor, psychologist, international speaker, and an avid pharmaceutical professional with a rich global experience. He is highly accomplished visionary and result-oriented pharmaceutical professional with more than 14 years of experience with various pharma companies like Merck, Novartis, Sandoz, Vocard, Dr. Reddy's, and many. He has worked in all these companies at various levels in the research and development, project management, and program management functions. Armed with vast knowledge and developed expertise in pharmaceutical formulation, research and development, discovery, business development, project management, program management, operation management, business strategy and business intelligence, medical, healthcare technology, and psychology. In short, he is an encyclopedia of pharmaceutical industry for us and its operations. So let me present to you all Dr. Roshan Palewar, sir, who will share his expertise on the topic concept to commercialization, a journey of a pharmaceutical product. So over to you, Dr. Roshan.
Thank you so much. It's a really wonderful introduction from your side. Sometimes very difficult to express, and I think you rightly pointed out all the key elements and wonderfully will introduce. Thank you so much, Anita ma'am, for inviting me for this wonderful session. And it's a great opportunity and a privilege to interact with the young minds, all the students, all the faculty members of Hiranandani College of Pharmacy. I'm thankful to you, Anita ma'am, for providing this opportunity. Wonderful. Going to bring the most of the facts, figures, and the true insight from the industry, pharmaceutical industry, more from the global perspective as well as the Indian perspective, how the industry is performing, how the industry is actually running, what are the different challenges and opportunities lying ahead. And since there was special request from Anita ma'am to cover more on the conceptualization process, concept to commercialization, exactly the product which are available in the market, how exactly they get developed in the R&D, and it comes to the commercialization. I will certainly cover that perspective, but in more depth, I will give the broader perspective in a way so that as a beginner, as a pharmacist, you understand the industry very well, and then you can make your career absolutely strong, right? So today's agenda, definitely, as I have briefed you, we're going to have the introduction. We talk about the drug life cycle, how exactly the product development process, in short, and the different regulatory requirement to ensure your product get developed and goes to the market in the right regulatory requirement. So on top of that, we'll also discover about the pharmaceutical industry worldwide, as well as the generic drug market, how the generics actually ruling the entire pharma industry. And if time allows, I would definitely take you through the different healthcare technology outlook. This will actually open up the our mind in a way, how we think, how the actually technology is getting developed, implemented, executed, and advancing in healthcare segment as well. And of course, QA session would be at the end. But yes, if you have any kind of doubt, you can definitely start asking in between. Thanks. Let's start with process and understand. Let me understand. In today's session, we have the participants who are basically graduate, undergraduate, possibly few might be a postgraduate, some are researcher. So I consider and give the opportunity to everyone. And let me start from the very basic level first, so that our base is strong. We understand the industry from root, and then we can scale further, right? So from the basic perspective, how exactly the pharmaceutical industry and overview. If you look into the pharmaceutical industries, is actually what is responsible for? What is it is responsible for? is responsible for development of the products, development of the molecule, then manufacturing of the products and medicines, and then ultimately marketing of the medications. That's what, generally the pharmaceutical industry do that. But on top of that, how exactly the pharmaceutical companies may deal. So these are the companies are dealing with the generic formulations, branded formulations, different medications, different doses formulation, and medical devices, right? That's what the general core area of the pharma industry. On top of that, so these are all the process which has been conducted in the pharmaceutical industry are subject to varieties of rule and regulations governed by the various regulatory authorities, and are responsible for like patenting, testing, efficacy, safety, and marketing of the drugs. So whatever happens in the pharma industry is absolutely under the stringent regulatory governance, monitoring, observations, so that at the end, which product goes into the market, and ultimately to the end user who is the patient, he receives the product in right safe dose comes to him, yeah. Thus, that was the reason there is a great immense importance, because the global sector is evident, right? Now friends, now let me know, since you most of you are still studying under the graduation and post graduation, how many of you have ever visited the manufacturing plant? You can start responding saying yes or no. Those who have already visited say yes, those who haven't visited say no.
Sir, all the students have visited. They were taken for factory visit at Mayor Organics.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think that's really good that you already have some visibility in terms of how. So let's have a small clip about the pharma industry in terms of the different manufacturing operations, unit operations, and just enjoy this particular clip.
If you're like the majority of people, there is a good chance that you have never been inside a pharmaceutical factory. Most of us only know tablets, injections, and ointments from the pharmacy. We now present you with the rare opportunity to retrace your medicine's route from the preparation of basic materials through the manufacturing process to final packaging. Pharmaceutical manufacturing is one of the most meticulously designed and controlled production processes. The rigorous planning, sterile environment, state-of-the-art equipment, multiple control procedures, high efficiency, environment-friendly methods, strict regulations, and full-scale quality assurance all serve the overall objective, namely to supply the public with a product involving no compromises.
Here at the tableting plant, 4 types of control procedures supervise the manufacturing process. We're talking about human lives, diseases. Production control has to be strict. Quality depends on both man and machine. At Ichter, with modern equipment at our disposal and strict control procedures in place, errors are eradicated.
Aseptic means the total elimination of potential sources of infection. My task is to ensure that this is a thorough process. It includes several sets of protective clothing for the employees and a contamination-free environment with a plate count close to 0 in the production area.
Richter is one of those pharmaceutical companies where no major quality complaints are reported, since complex internal control processes ensure that production faults are avoided.
I am happy to be part of the drug manufacturing process, which eventually helps patients to get better.
That's what you see, the different operations in the pharmaceutical industry versus the specific dosage formulation is happening, much more from the world's perspective, how the pharma industry globally be performing. Let me tell you, the whole global pharmaceutical industry, the market is all about $1 trillion US. That's the size of the global pharma industry. And what does that mean? It means that irrespective of the external challenges and the environment which is happening, whether it's a pandemic or any kind of unforeseen condition, despite the challenges, the pharma industry is the only sector which is growing steadily and making its presence very strong. And what does that mean? That means that your future as a pharmacist are absolutely strong. You have the greater, career opportunities. You have the stable growth in the future as well. Right. So now, if you look into this particular, graph, is steadily growing further, and today it's crossing more than $1 trillion as a complete size, which was, if you look into maybe 10 to 15 years back, or let's say 20 years back, it was around just $390 million. So from $390 million to $1 trillion, it's a great leap, great growth, and that ensures the sector is evident, sector is growing, and irrespective of any challenges which I have mentioned, the sector stable market. Now, global perspective. Now, let's have and understand how exactly the Indian pharma market, how big is that? So Indian pharmaceutical industry, it's today standing at more than $55 billion. That's what the Indian pharma sector, which is growing at the rate of 70.46 CAGR percentage. And this is happening because there is a greater scope. And definitely in a couple of slides, I will talk about that, how exactly the Indian pharma market is making unique presence in the entire world. And let me tell you, and I think this is something that every single student and pharmacist should know about it and should feel pride about it. Let me ask you, and if you come to know that the Indian pharma market, Indian company, pharma industry altogether standing top 3 in the pharmaceutical market worldwide by incremental growth. Isn't it that's a proud moment for all of us? Isn't it that a really great where the Indian pharma industry is standing 6th largest market globally in absolute size? This talks about how strongly the entire industry is performing and making our presence very strong in the entire market. Right. So India also, in terms of the production, if you look into why the Indian market is so lucrative for the entire world, because there are a lot of significant savings on the cost because of production facilities available. Plenty of skilled resources are available, and on top of that, there is a competitive edge where if you do the kind of development or manufacturing versus US or Europe market, it is going to be absolutely cheap if it is happening in India. And that's the reason whole world is looking at India to set up their operations and run the businesses and start growing it from that side. Now, if you wanted to know, understand more, say type yes. And if you wanted to know further more, do you really want to understand further and understand how the pharma industry is all about? I wanted to see whether your responses are, you are keen to know further or not. Say type yes in the chat box. Great. So let me help you to understand about the generic market, because this is the segment, this is a particular, business segment which is making larger presence, larger share in the entire, size. And therefore, if you look into the entire distribution of the Indian pharmaceutical market, generics takes around 70%, portion, a share from the market. And that's what the entire, ruling the entire, operations. And in that 100%, if you look into OTC takes around 21%, and therefore there are a lot of over-the-counter medicines are available because consumers, the patients needs this medication, which takes around 31% market share. Now, what is left? 9% is left. 9% are these are the patented drugs. These are the drugs which is being branded, which has been patented, and they take almost 9% share from the market. And this is what makes us to understand how the entire pharma industry is being distributed in terms of the various segments and how much percentage they take it. Now, I would like to take you to the next slide and help you to understand more, and you will feel much more proud by knowing that the Indian pharma industry is the 3rd largest worldwide in terms of the volume. And not only that, it's also accounting for 10% world's population. So Indian pharma industry is contributing and supporting more than 10% of global market in terms of the production capacities. Now, there are much more surprising facts. The total export that is being done from the Indian market is about more or less $20 billion in the years, and is going to cross much more than that. And with the exports to more than 200 countries. Now, this is what you need to understand much, in depth, why you choose this particular profession of pharmacy, how is your future is going to be, what are the different opportunities lying in the professions, and why the Indian pharma industry is ruling over again, across the world. And because we are contributing to more than 200 countries, we are exporting it. We are the actually market leader in worldwide leader actually. And every third dose of the vaccine which is being administered worldwide is being manufactured and comes from the Indian manufacturing facility. So do you feel proud about it, being a pharmacist and being a part of the pharma industry, and that to be Indian pharma industry, isn't it? Say yes and type there if you wanted to know more further. So are we clear so far in terms of how exactly the global perspective and how the Indian pharma industry is all about? If you have any doubt, you can just do let us know on that, and I can put address quickly, or else we can move on more on the next segment would be understanding the drug life cycle. Just let me see if any questions are there. Okay, perfectly all right. So I can see your responses, and that's great to understand. You are very keen to know further, right? Okay, before that, being a pharmacist, I would like to pause here for a moment and wanted to ask your close focus attention and understand what you are doing. You are pursuing a pharmaceutical degrees, whether it's a D Pharm, B Pharm, M Pharm, PhD, or you're possibly working already in the pharma industry. What you carry is not only that you are, you are working. It's not about that. You are actually contributing. Being a pharmacist, let's say a future pharmacist, you have the larger responsibility to cater the needs of the society, because whatever the product medicines, whether it's been developed or manufactured, which goes to the patient, is for the treatment and the cure of that particular a patient, and therefore you are contributing directly to the society, and that's what the greater responsibility is on your shoulder. So you should feel proud being a pharmacist, and that's what makes you to stand unique in the entire crowd. Now let me ask you one more thing. How many of you are passionate about your career? Say type who are passionate. Say yes, you are passionate. I wanted to see the chat is full of your responses. How many are passionate about your career? Okay, okay, people are started responding on that. So now you should also understand that pursuing your career in the pharmaceutical, it of course it's your dream, but let me tell you one thing. The moment you see your passion, you identify your passion, whichever the areas it could be not only in the pharmaceutical, it could be different segment also, but understand that your passion and how your dream clear. I'm sure every one of us are dreaming it, isn't it? Are you dreaming day and night? Say yes. I think everybody dreams it, right? And what is important, in a way to achieve your ambition, your goal, what is important is that you start dreaming about your, aspirations, your entire goal, right? But what happens? Just dreaming doesn't support you to achieve that goal. What is important in that case? So you have a dream, you have certain passion about it. Now put certain date, so dream plus date is become your goal, right? And when you have the visibility of your goal, break down that goal in a micro steps, and I'm sure you will be able to achieve your goal irrespective of what size that you are dreaming of it, right? And that's what the point of making here is, that you need to focus much more on your passion, because the moment you know this is your passion and make that passion as your profession and make as your career, then you won't be feeling that you are working. Actually you are going to enjoy that, and that is really important to be successful in the entire your career, right? Hiranandani College has already set up the entire training workshop for a week. all the speakers who are the experts from the industry will going to talk about the various segment. I'm sure some way or other, uh, people will definitely get benefited out of it. Now, what is the drug life cycle is all about and how the process involved into it? The drug discovery and the development is a long and risky process. I mean, what you see, the molecule which coming in the market, it goes from the different very critical process which takes around 14 to 16 years in terms of the entire development to reach to the market where the patient get treated. So we should respect each and every dosage formulation, each and every dosage form, and the kind of uniqueness that molecule brings, because every single molecule and the dose is been meant to cure, and that's what they, our responsibility, where when we are coming into the development phase, or whether it's a manufacturing or whether it's a quality control, every single cross-functional department are equally contributing to ensure whatever the products comes to the market is of high quality and efficacy and safety, right? So in this particular slide, you can see that there are various phases involved into it: drug discovery, preclinical, clinical trials, which is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, FDA review, and then there is a large scale manufacturing and ultimately the marketing side of it. So in the pre-discovery phase, which is involved, screening of molecules, it's actually candidate, even it has not been clear whether it's going to be active drug or not. So there are more than 10,000 of compounds, the chemicals get screened during this particular phase, and after out of this 10,000, you'll be very surprised. Hardly 10 molecules makes to the next phase of the development. The rest of get killed in the early phase of discovery itself. Where they're in the preclinical phase. Okay, in the preclinical where the compounds are being tested in the animals, right? So where approximately 250 molecule screens in that particular process, and this entire pre-discovery and preclinical phase, which has around 3 to 6 years time frame. So understand that quantum of time, quality time goes in the screening process, and further, the moment the preclinical is being done, and then we entered into clinical trials. Now, the clinical trial is much more complex in terms of the kind of evaluation parameters that has been tested and what are the outcome is been optimized. So there are the 3 phases involved into it. So you'll see that out of this 250, which was screened at the preclinical stage, hardly 5 molecules, 5 actual compounds mix into the clinical phase. And the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 starts, which takes around 6 to 7 years in totality. And out of that, hardly the phase 1, where the drug is been tested on around 20 to 80 healthy volunteers to understand its behavior in terms of the pharmacological action, side effect, toxicology, and also that parameters. And then it enters into the phase 2, where the volunteers are 100 to 300 healthy volunteers, and phase 3, which is much larger, where more than 1,000 to 3,000 actual patients is being tested in terms of the drug behavior, safety, efficacy, and toxicity of that thing, right? And that basis, that entire study, when you go for the making the dossiers and then filing to the FDA authority, so if FDA comes into the pictures where your dossier is being get reviewed, which takes at least, approximately 2 years time frame. And once you get the go ahead approval from the FDA, then you focus on the large scale manufacturing of your drug formulations and ensuring that your product hits the market on time. So the actual time which is left for the marketing is very minimum, which is hardly a couple of months, couple of years. So out of 16 years, 14 years have been already spent on the development side of it, right? And then hardly a couple of years, which is available for your marketing, because the entire discovery is of very complex in process. It involves various scientific involvement and activities and huge development costs, and that's the reason the product which comes to the market, it comes with a higher price, or let's say premium price, to recover that thing, right? So are you with me on this particular slide? Let's understand the drug development in terms of how the generic formulations or the typical branded formulation is being developed, and we are typically talking about the generic formulation specifically, right? Now, Now, this clear drug development phase has a different uniqueness and importance altogether. Now, if I compare with the discovery, which takes around 14 to 16 years for the development, whereas in the A&D, abbreviated new drug application product development, it takes around a couple of years, depend upon the kind of molecule, the complexity. It may take 4 years, 5 years also, depend upon that. But however, in average, if I look into it, takes around a couple of years, right? So the phase involved into the seed round, the seed round where you identify the target and then you validate, which takes at least a couple of years in the early phase of the R&D, right? Then you have 2 years for the hit generations, where you confirm the potency and their cytotoxicity, preliminary animal efficacy studies for this one. And then after the lead generation and optimization. So here you focus more on the toxicity properties, structural activity, relationships, pharmacophenomena, and the modeling, that happens in this particular phase. And then it's a preclinical, which is approximately 1 year time phase where your drug has been tested in the animals and you perform the various studies, which is series B round actually. And then of course it comes the out licensing, which is also called as a series C, which is a clinical trials. This slide is an extension of the previous slide, which we are further bifurcating how much individual activities or the processes taking the time, and how much volunteers, healthy volunteers are involved into it. So the phase one, which the whole objective of the phase one clinical trial is to study the safety, whether the molecule which we are taking as a candidate for our development, which we see possibly this molecule going to be a drug which has certain pharmacological actions. So here you study the drug, the candidate molecule, for the safety purpose for around 100, almost 100 people, and which takes at least a couple of years, 2 years for that thing. Now the phase two, which is the focus is not only about the safety but also efficacy. Now you are increasing, you're scaling your volunteers from earlier 100 people, now you're going up to 300 people, which is again takes a couple of years for the entire development to generate the data, right? And then it goes to phase three, which is efficacy, safety of the drug, where more than approximately 3,000 people is been tested. These are the actually patients, which takes around 2 to 3 years time frame. So these are the very complex process involved into it, right? You also observe one particular cycle in the pharma drug life cycle, the drug life optimization. It has a 3 life periods. When I say optimization, what exactly that means to it. If you look into the entire development cycle that you certainly saw on the discovery side of it, there are the early, middle, and late phase. Okay, we say as a 3 periods, life period in the optimization process, right? So early phase, which is actually discovery phase. Once you have the phase 3 has been done, you do the product launch, right? Which is an actual core segment, middle period of the entire cycle, right? And this is where the whole industry focuses, because this product is already launched in the market, and then you can start getting the benefits out of it, right? Now, if you look into this particular slide, there are, it's a phase of like introduction of your product. There is a growth happens. Then when it's reached to the maturity phase, and then after that, it start getting declining it, So this phase is important for the company to gain the profit out of it, right? The moment it's coming towards a declination, which is again leading to the late phase, late period, and giving the opportunity to the other competitors, the generic players, to do the development, bring the ANDAs in the market, right? So what happens here, there is a loss of market exclusivity. Being an innovator, you done the development for almost 14 years, and then you got a couple of years for the marketing, which is a middle phase, middle period. Since it reaches to the declination phase, now you are going to lose the market. And therefore, what happens, all the innovators, they start playing around the formulation by changing the dosage form, by changing certain additional efficacy or the pharmacological action, and making as a unique product, and possibly you get the extended patent period for it, right? So here there is what you call the innovator themselves may come as a approved generics, may come as a branded generics, okay, and the entire market is now open because your patent has been off shelf, which is that means the entire generic players can come into the picture, and they can they can do their development and file the products, file the ANDA, and get approval and do the marketing. Right, the moment this comes, the generic competition starts running it, and that gives access to highly affordable drugs to the patients. So let me move on and understand, help you to understand about the generic R&D, research and development for the generic formulations. What are the different processes involved into it? Now, this is where we all need to have, greater focus to understand. Now, in the R&D development process, which is a generics, we are all together the host, you need to look after the control also, like who are joining and providing that access actually. Okay, and phase, development phase, and of course there is a final what do you call the commercialization or the launch of the product happens it, right? Now in the research phase, what happens, there is a drug selection happens, there's already the innovator available in the market, right? So what happens, the pharma companies who are working for the generic formulation or generic development, they works on the identification of the molecule, which molecule to be developed in a generic format, and file the product in the market, right? Now, so we call this as a business case. It has a various different elements to it. I'm not going to deep dive into that segment, but just wanted to say that the initial phase is the identification of the molecule or which particular therapy that you wanted to develop the product. Okay, so selection of the drug. Then after there is a pre-formulation. Now from this phase onward, it's all R&D side starts actually. So in the pre-formulation, what happens? You do the various studies. It's called a drug excipient compatibility studies, in a way to understand what are different ingredients, excipients goes into the formulation, whether they are stable or not, understanding their compatibility. So that happens here certainly. Then after there is a development phase. So development phase has a further micro steps involved into it, whether you perform what you call the bench scale development, right? So basis your pure formulation studies, you come to know these are the excipients are compatible, and of course you have the details about the innovator in terms of the patent. There is a patent. There are a lot of complexity in a way to select the right dose, excipients, because patent will make you to not giving the exact clue for the formulations, right? And taking you to work around without infringing the patent. You need to make your own path of development of the selections of the excipient, different processes, different molecule, the stability profile and all that, and then you actually make it develop, right? So in the development phase itself, there are the bench scale development, then there is a what you call the lab scale development, right? And there is exhibit batches, right? So in the what happens once you do the bench scale development, which is actually performing your various formulation trial in a small batch size, let's say around 2000 or 5000 tablets, not beyond that, because here you're going to play around with various strategies, various formulations, methodologies, and deriving which is more likely stable, formulations, taking that formulation by performing at least a month stability data, 1 month stability, and then going for the further development, right? Now in the lab scale phase, which is a kind of optimization phase where you perform you manufacture 3 batches. Now the size has been increased. Let's say earlier it was just a 5000 tablets. It could be in the lab scale, it could be 10,000 tablets or 1 lakh tablets actually. Okay, so you make 3 batches, and then that 3 batches you put in the stability data for 3 months, 6 months stability, and then you see and monitor the entire stability data, understanding how your product is performing in the various stability conditions. For example, 25-60, 30-65, and 40-75 conditions, depending upon the kind of dosage form that you're working, you need to select the different stability conditions, right? Then after, once you come to know your formula has been optimized, you have the stable stability for at least 3 months, basis that, then you do a pilot studies, right? Now, in the pilot studies, what happens? You do the manufacturing not only in the non-GMP laboratory, but you do it in the GMP facility. It could be a GMP facility within the R&D, or it could be in the manufacturing plant also. And now the scale has been up to, let's say, 1 lakh batch size, right? So there you perform the stability manufacturing of that batches, and then you perform the stability data studies for it, which takes at least a 6 month stability data. Now, so entire in this process, whatever the data get generated in the laboratory, in the pilot batches, and then the regulatory teams come to the picture who do the drafting of the dossiers, right? And then you enter it to file the product, right? But before that, you, as I said it earlier, there is a basis this stability data, you possibly go for the pivotal bio studies, right? Performing the, now what happens here, you perform the availability biologically, like BA studies of your product in a way to compare with the innovator, right? And this is that you perform the stability and then go for the exhibit batches. Now, exhibit or the registration batches are those batches which are actually manufactured in the GMP production area, and those batches, the samples have been submitted to the authority along with the entire dossiers, right? Now there is a technology transfer happens in this particular process, right? So from the R&D or the pilot plant, the entire technology has been transferred to the production plant, because henceforth all the responsibility will be of the manufacturing production plant itself, right? So there is a technology transfer happens, and then once you get the product approval from the respective authority, regulatory authority, you get the access, you get the approval, and then you enter in the market, right? So that's what the typical process involved into it, and that was more on the development side of it. But being a pharmacist, this is what your future is going to be, right? Irrespective of which particular department you're going to join, this is your passion and everything. As a pharmacist, we certainly should know about what are the different top 10, world's top 10 pharma companies, and on top of that, what are the different brands are performing, right? This helps us to understand how the companies are performing, and one should target in terms of which companies to join in the future. This is their interest and everything, right? So now let me tell you, in the top 10 list of World Pharma top 10 list, this ranking made change. This is their performance on various parameters, right? But as of now, if you look into the Pfizer is on number 1 position, followed by Novartis, Roche, Johnson and Johnson, Sanofi, Merck, AbbVie, Amgen, GSK, Bristol Myers Squibb. So as you're going to get into the industry in the near future, or maybe in the immediate future, then you should know that these are the companies you should, have your priorities, because this is actually great privilege to work for such big brands, that gives you a lot of learning opportunities, right? But at the same time, we should also know what are the Indian top pharma companies in the listing of top 15 listing, So number 1 is Sun Pharma, right? And followed by Aurobindo, Lupin, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's at 5th positions, Zydus Cadila, Intas, Glenmark, Torrent, Mankind, Biocon, Piramal, Wockhardt, Davis, Abbott. So these are the companies who are performing in the top 15 ranking, and the parameters are, there are various evaluation parameter which makes the company standing in the growth-wise manner. Much more about your hidden opportunities, what are different kind of opportunities in the industry, which are the different therapy areas and all that. Do you want to know much more further? If yes, then just type yes.
So there is a question.
Okay, please ask.
From Alfia Bhavnagarwala. She has asked that whether the patent life can be increased or not.
And thanks. I think this is a really interesting question. So let me answer very precisely. When it comes to innovator, right? Innovator spends around 14 to 16 years. So there is a patent life of 16 years altogether, which has been granted from day 1 till day out from the market. The product gets out from the market. So they have the 16 years of entire patent life. In that particular phase, Once the innovator see that they are coming towards the closure of the patent, which is happens, post marketing actually, they might come up with the extension of the formulation, by doing some innovative further formulations, by showcasing that this molecule, this formulation has some additional pharmacological actions, or they might come up with a different doses formulation, or the different strength. So that way, the same product may get the additional patent life, and thereby they get the additional market exclusivity before the generic comes into the picture. Now, when it comes to the generics market, generic player also, what happens, the generic pharma companies are also playing very smartly. They are also competing with the innovator. They are challenging innovator, if you do the para 3, para 4 filing, right? So what happens in the para 4, you are actually challenging the innovator and saying that, hey, look, what the formulation that you have developed is, of course, a good one, but yes, we also done the formulation, and our formulation, our product is much more superior than the innovator product, right? But not just saying will help to make them, them to market the product. No, so they have to go with the, filing process. They have to fight the innovator, and they can, but they have to prove their points scientifically. They have to showcase the data and results, right? But what happens during those phases, the moment para 4 filing happens and they challenge the innovator, FDA gives the, what do you call, FDA stops the innovator for further marketing. So what happens during those periods, the innovator company may also sue the pharma company, generic pharma company, if their claim is not so strong or not superior than the innovator. So if that happens, then there is a big penalty, heavy penalty by the innovator, and thereby very few pharma companies are playing in the para 4 filings, para 4 category, right? But let's say if they win, the generic pharma company wins para 4 case, and what happens during that phase, they get the 6-month exclusivity to market stand alone in the entire world. There won't be any other pharma company who will be doing the, including the innovator, won't be able to do the marketing for that 6-month time frame. Yes, that's what the exclusivity comes into the picture. I hope I address your point. So then let me take you very quickly on the next slide, which is performing, been ranked, what different contribution from their side. If you look into this particular slide, top 10 therapy areas in 2020, I think you must have been also noted, oncology stands very strong in the entire therapy segment, which is actually contributing more than 12% sales growth. And in terms of the market share, it contributes around 13 to 14%, let's say around 16% up to 16% across the other therapy areas, followed by immunosuppressants, then anti-diabetes, sensory organs, vaccines, then anti-rheumatics, antivirals, MS therapies, bronchodilators, and antihypertensives. So you can see what does this pictures talks about. This says that oncology is ruling the entire pharmaceutical market, taking the larger market share, which is indicating that there are a lot of cancer cases are coming up and creating altogether different segment, different market opportunity. And the whole, most of the pharma companies are now focusing on the oncological molecules to do the development, right? Followed by the, of course, the anti-diabetes and the anti-hypertensive segment, followed by the immunosuppressants, right? So these are the different therapies which play in the market. Take your attention on very important aspect apart from the pharmaceutical side of it. This is more on our individual thought process, because every single person on the earth is given with the options, right? So we always have some options in hand before you take any decisions. But what happens, what kind of options that we choose, it makes our destiny in that way. So it's really important to understand and think twice before taking any kind of options, right? But yes, life always provides you the options, so don't get get hesitated or don't get stuck Just be active, be focused in your ambition, in your passion, and then you will see the magic happening around you. So I have a very small clip here to open up the mind. Let's enjoy this moment. My side, I thank you, all of you, for your patience listening, and special thanks to Hiranandani College, and especially to Anita ma'am for giving the opportunity. And I close my presentation
Sir, there is one
by
question.
saying the mind is just like a parachute. It works best when it is open. So let's open our mind, and it will open the entire door. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there is a question.
Yeah.
Same from Alfia Bhavnagar wala.
Okay.
She's extending the earlier question.
Yeah.
She's asking, when the patent of a particular drug or a molecule occur before clinical trial or after FDA approval of a molecule?
Can you come again once?
When the patent of a particular drug or molecule occur before clinical trial or after FDA approval of a molecule?
Okay, so there are the two elements to it. It again depends upon if you're talking about whether the innovator product or you're talking about the generic product altogether, right? So in case of the innovator, if you're working on the new chemical compound, new entity altogether, then you do a clinical, preclinical studies, and when you start filing the product, an early phase itself, where you are giving the indications to the authority that these are the certain candidates which have the potentials, and your preclinical data, everything you be submitted to them. Basis that you get the approval to proceed further, and then you get the patent. So from day one of your development till the certain time, which is a commercial time frame, which is almost 16 years. So innovator gets almost 16 years of patent life, right? Now, when it comes to generics or branded generics formulations, you can file the patent during the development phase itself, because you certainly know that what kind of different formulation strategies that you're using, a different methodology that you are using it. You have certain stability data and other scientific data available with you. So of course you can file the patent at the development phase itself, right? Now, the patent could be on various factors, various kind of parameters. It could be on the dosage form that you are developing. It could be on the target drug delivery. That could be a kind of a patent. You can have it. You can have the patent on the different composition, excipients, different proportion of the excipients, or different proportion of the combination of the drugs and their excipients. You can do the formulation patent also. You can also have the patent, process patent, what kind of process that you're using it, whether let's say it's a wet granulation or dry granulation process, or various other manufacturing process involved into it. So you can have the patent on the process itself. You could have the patent on your packing of the finished product. You can have the patent on that side. So patent has various broader perspective. It's all about the company to decide what to patent and what to file. But yes, just to make it the point very short, patent has been granted at the early phase of the development also, and post development also. Yeah.
So there is one more question coming up from Rutuj Kusurkar. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he has a doubt that he's saying that I hope you concurred with my point that after the pandemic, the healthcare and IT industry will galvanize to some extent. So will you tell us some master programs in such domain and job opportunities in the market after completing masters in fields like data science, bioinformatics, and data analysis?
Sure.
So he wants to know more about the data science, bioinformatics, and data analysis.
Right. I think this is very very precise questions, very rightly been asked. So I think the kudos to you. Who has asked this question, by the way?
Rutuj Kusurkar.
Okay, Rutuj. So let me help you to understand. Of course, this COVID-19 pandemic is across the world, right? And the entire world is suffering. So what does that mean? Now, there are a lot of challenges the entire sector is going through, and the pharma is no more a special case for that. Even the pharma companies also suffering to a greater extent in terms of operations, in terms of the supplies, in terms of their day-to-day routine operations also, right? But having said that, this pandemic situation opened the minds and the eyes of every single person who is living in the earth, is that now we need to change ourselves. We need to change and adopt the technology as a core part of our life, whether as an individual or whether as a professional, whether it's an industry or whether as a service provider, irrespective of what kind of company, what kind of segment you are into. Every single person and the corporates has to adopt the technology as part of their core process, core growth strategy. That is something very unique and important to go further, right? Now, having said that, there are the scenarios. This pandemic is giving the opportunity also, and the opportunity in manifold, in many ways, and that lies up to the individual companies to grab that opportunity. And to grab that opportunity, one should equip with the technology, if equipped with the certain processes, modernizations, and adaptation to the desired level, right? Now, as all of us are going through this phase and we are understanding that, for example, this particular session that we are having, webinar, right? We are taking the help of the technology and we are interacting and able to conduct this session and interacting with more than 100, 200 people at a time, right? So this is what the technology aids in our operations to achieve the objectives, right? Similarly, as an individual, one should also equip ourselves, right? If I talk about this one, there are many opportunities are lining, let's say the new opportunity, which was possibly there, but not greatly known, but now they are plentifully available. You will see that if you talk about from the industry perspective, apart from the drug development, apart from the formulation, marketing, and so on, and other segment, there is a new segment, new kind of sub-industry got opened up, which is what do you call the uh, protective kits, PPE, the protective kits and let's say sanitization, this particular segment have been got greater opportunity. This new segment have been opened up very heavily, and most of the companies are working on that. And believe me, irrespective of this pandemic situation, there are a lot of opportunities available for the people like you, the youngsters, the newcomers, because you have the creativity, you have the greater zeal to learn and do the things in larger extents. So there are a lot of opportunities available digitally. For example, if I would like to extend your questions and then I can address some couple of points that, for example, when it comes to internship also, you could, even the placement also, right? So there are the companies who are working in this particular situation. The HRs are very active and responsive at the same time. You could approach them for your different proposal with respect to placement, with respect to internship, with respect to the jobs, and they can of course can conduct the interviews via various digital platform available, and ensure the interview process happens smoothly and able to induct you in the industry, whichever the functions and the openings are there, right? Similarly, the healthcare segment, there are the few technology areas where which is actually trending. There is a greater future. For example, artificial intelligence, machine learning, okay, big data analysis, right, and the remote sensing, using the technology, let's say blockchain technology, so kind of automation. So this is the change which is making every single company to think on these lines, because these technologies are helping to work remotely, helping to enhance the productivity of the operations and uh, achieve the larger growth. So artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation, process enhancement, big data analysis, these are the areas where all the companies are focusing now. And as far as the student is concerned, as far as you are concerning about your career, let me tell you, your career is absolutely secure, nothing to worry about it. You have the bright future, there is a greater opportunity available. But what is to be done in a way to grab those opportunities is that you need to upgrade yourself with respect to the skill by the industry, so therefore you need to keep brushing your knowledge, adopting, or at least having a basic knowledge about all these technologies, how they actually work, and enhance your skill, right? You can also, and I'm just suggesting to you, because this kind of skill set will definitely going to help you to secure your future in the industry, or whatever the passion that you carry into it, with respect to healthcare and the pharma sector industry is concerned, right? uh, you can definitely pursue few of the short courses. For example, postgraduate diploma in drug regulatory affairs, course in formulation development, course in analytical development, course in artificial intelligence, course in machine learning, right? A course in pharmacovigilance, clinical affairs. These are the areas, these are the developing areas which has a greater potential, and the trend is also shifting, right? So you should grab those knowledge, make yourself and your CV absolutely heavy and unique in the entire competition. As you acquire those knowledge, for example, such kind of sessions happening, this help you to open your mind, open your imagination, and then you can start working in those line and making your career much more stronger, and absolutely growing further. Yeah.
Skills to get the students job opportunities in the field of data science, bioinformatics, and analytics.
Right. So these are the technology-driven opportunities in terms of the career, in terms of the business growth also, right? And therefore, so what happens? There are so much of data flows in the industry with respect to the development, with respect to the kind of productions and manufacturings and the kind of operations happens. So there is a big data, the data of the company, the data of the behavior of the consumer also, right? So this data analytics, the big data analysis has a greater future, and therefore in a way to grab those opportunities, our students should also equip those kind of skills, right? So what can be done quickly is that you could definitely plan to have few sessions on such kind of core areas, very niche areas where the big data analysis, blockchains, artificial intelligence, bioanalytics can be exposed, and the knowledge can be shared with the entire students, and they get updated with that.
Sir,
And of course,
currently, whatever options are available, no, I have checked those because I wanted to have one session on that also in this workshop.
right.
But then there are many people, those who are saying that either you will have to join the course or then there are placement opportunities. I mean, nobody is giving kind of a sessions what we are having right now on these topics.
Right, I got your point, and the point is very much, practically kind of challenging at the same time, because these are kind of advanced skills which one should acquire to get into that specific niche function, unique function, and mere basic, let's say, D farm, B farm, M farm won't help you to get into that. I'm not saying these are courses. In fact, these courses are actually a foundation course which help you to get into any sector, any function, whatever that you are inclined towards it, provided you upgrade your skills. Because certainly this, uh, as you rightly mentioned, data analytics, big data analytics, bioanalytics, this requires a soft skill as well as a technical skill to be acquired for it, right? And yeah, there are few courses available, because that course will take you in a deep dive understanding the entire scope of the course, and make you acquire those knowledge and present to the company while you go for the placement, right? And that thereby you enhance your opportunity to get that kind of courses, right? But having said that, few courses, I mean, few sessions can be organized. We can definitely work out in that. For example, in our company, uh, we have like the DocRoSh Global Solution and DocRoSh Health. If I talk about DocRoSh Global Solution, there is a unique vertical conferencing and trainings where our complete team conducts the various workshops, seminar, conferences, which is of high scale, industry oriented, conferences, right? And parallelly various kind of short courses and short trainings, right? We can definitely work on those lines. This is the kind of interest from the students, and we can conduct such kind of things. Apart from that, as a complementary, what we can do it, we can have to organize couple of the sessions on artificial intelligence, blockchain, and machine learning, and big data analytics. I can be one of the, let's say, speaker. I can contribute from my side on that. But
Okay.
yes, if you want to have a deep dive, then definitely the short courses definitely help in that way. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. There are two more questions coming up from the students.
Yeah.
First question is from Rahul Jaiswal. I guess this question you have addressed up to certain extent, because he is asking about the unemployment faced in pharma sector and the other sectors. That I guess you have already presented, but you can extend if you want to. And there is one more question by Rashmi Chauhan. She is asking how nanotechnologies are impacting drug discovery.
Okay, so let me take the first question, although we responded to a certain extent. But
Yeah.
yes, let me tell you, I think Rahul, right? So unemployment scenario of what all of us are seeing is in temporary nature. And this is more prevailed by the situation, by the time, and is not been forcefully done by the industries, right? So these are the measures which has been taken by the companies in a way to run the operations smoothly without impacting, right? So the unemployment is a temporary phase, so don't worry about that. I can, with responsibility, I can tell you there are the greater opportunities available in the various segment, and as this phase goes off, even in the current time frame also, there are a lot of recruitment happening, there are a lot of placement is going on, there are a lot of internship programs are running by the various companies. So it's just that we need to open up, we need to make our broader perspective to and scale. You need to do some kind of research to understand where are those opportunities are lying up, where are the positions are lined up. I would suggest to every single student, to have a LinkedIn profile. So this LinkedIn is actually for the fully professional platform where you can connect with the industries, experts, and whosoever your admirer and your passion areas. You can connect with those experts and make yourself presentable professionally to the larger audience from the industry, and thereby you possibly lined up getting few more projects, few more kind of opportunities in terms of the career, in terms of the internship, and so many things. So use the technology, use the various platform available in the social areas. Yeah.
Sir, would you help me with the industries, those who are offering e-internship opportunities to the students?
I mean, it's not handy with me right now, but definitely we can figure
Yeah.
out, and we can help you to know that which are those companies who are in.
Yes. Okay.
And our company also help you to get couple of internships. This is the kind of profile that we have, and it depend upon the individual student what kind of caliber they carry. So basis that can be worked out. There is no problem.
Okay, sir.
Okay, let me quickly take the Rashmi's question. How nanotechnologies are impacting the drug discovery?
Okay.
Now, the nanotechnology is altogether very niche technology, and it has its own importance, and opportunities because of the nanotechnologies are plenty. It helps in many ways in terms of the development, in terms of doing your formulations and working on the various what you call targeted drug delivery, ensuring the nanotechnology help you to enhance the penetration of your drug, release mechanism of your drug in the entire human anatomy and physiology. So it helps you to ensure the drug which is being administered, it has a higher potency, higher efficacy, higher bioavailability because of its nature, nanotechnology. So there are a lot of applications available, and it helps in greater extent, whether it's a product development, formulation, research, or discovery. And not just only the pharmaceutical sector, but nanotechnology has applications across the industries as well. For example, when I was with Dr. Reddy's and being a scientist during early days of my career, I used to work on regulated market on various doses formulation, like for example, tablet, capsules, solid oral, solid, semi-solid formulation like cream, ointment, gel. This is very complex of technologies that you use to do. For example, we work on the microsphere platform technology, right? So by using those microsphere platform technology, we were able to administer the highly potent and sensitive drug, which has a higher sensitivity on the application on the skin itself, where you get the burning sensation and itching and so many side effect. I mean, that's a characteristic of the drug itself, actually. So we could address those very smoothly and enhance the availability of the drug into the skin. So that's what the technologies are actually very instrumental, bringing the innovation, bringing the novelty in the formulation and the product. Thank you, Rashmi.
Okay, any more questions, students? Okay, I guess no questions. So thank you so much, sir.
Great.
You have, yeah.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you all the participants. You are very kind. You are very active. I enjoyed interacting with you. It was really wonderful, interactions. Thank you so much for asking all the doubts. In case if you feel there are some doubts are still there, some questions to be addressed, we can connect offline to ma'am, and we can address those questions also. Or maybe we could have a separate altogether sessions in that case if required. So thank you so much. Thank you to Anita ma'am for giving the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us so much time and valuable information, sharing your expertise with us. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye-bye and have a great day. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.